July of 2024 was a wild month weather-wise. We had the heat, we had the drought, we had the storms, and we had the flooding. A little bit of everything last month. So let's take a look back at some of the records that this month set. Well, first of all, it was the warmest 4th of July on record. On Independence Day, we tied the record high for the date of 97 degrees, but with a low of 74, that makes it, by the average, the warmest Independence Day that we've had at the McGee-Tyson Airport. And that heat continued really through the first half of the month of July. Our warmest day was on the 14th with a high of 98 degrees. And overall, we were tied for the second warmest first half of the month of July until the switch flipped. And then we ended up being a little bit below average for this second half of the month. Now, with such dry and hot conditions, our drought conditions rapidly worsened. By July 16th, our drought was in the severe category across a good portion of the plateau and across the Southern Valley, moderate drought through most of the rest of our viewing area. And this happened really through the last 2 weeks of June and the first 2 weeks of the month of July. We call that rapid onset of drought. Farmers started having issues with their crops around the area, and everybody was just praying for rain. Well, the switch flipped, and then we had a little bit too much of a good thing for the second half of the month. Through the 15th, the 16th, we had the driest start to the month of July on record. Only one day with measurable rain through the first 2 weeks, giving us less than 2% of our average rainfall through the 16th. Then we saw a month's worth of rain in the following 2 weeks, and that led to all kinds of a mess. We had flooding across the area, and in addition to the heavy rain, we also had multiple days of severe weather. By the end of the month, though, because of the very warm start and then the slightly cooler ending, we ended up with the 19th warmest July on record. We had 15 days with highs in the 90s, and 9 of those days were 95 degrees or warmer. That is the 11th most days with highs greater than or equal to 95 degrees in the month of July on record. And rainfall-wise, this is the one that on the weather team we just talked about. We ended up with 5 inches of rain last month. The average is 5.25, so we're only missing a quarter of an inch. When you factor in that we had a 0.3 of an inch surplus in June and a quarter of an inch deficit in the month of July, despite the windshield wiper effect of our rain and dry spells, our meteorological summer is actually pretty close to average when it comes to rainfall. Warmth-wise, we're definitely running on the warm side. And July of 2024 will go down on the record books and in our memories for a lot of reasons. Now that we've moved into the month of August, what can we expect? Well, we can expect shortening days. We'll have about an hour less daylight by the end of the month than we started with. Our temperatures don't really change throughout this month too much. We still average about 10 days with highs in the 90s. But we'll start to feel those intrusions, those little cooler days, and some of that drier air that tends to come in from the north, reminding us that we are getting closer and closer to the fall season.